I'd like to, did you got Dan back?
Yep.
He walked away for a minute.
Oh, well, you can start. I'll be back on in just a second.
I'd like to call to order the Village of Marvin Parks, Recreation and Greenways Board meeting here on Tuesday, January 4th at 9:02 a.m. First item on the agenda is to determine a quorum, and I do determine that we do have one with myself, Bob Nunnenkamp, here in the office, and Dan and Christina remotely, along with Kimberly Vandenberg, who is our council liaison, attending as well. Item number 2 on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Any last minute questions, changes requested here? If not, do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the agenda as it is written?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Right.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the previous minutes. These are the minutes from December 7th, 2021. They were sent in our original packet. And anybody have any questions about those minutes? Any changes or anything like that?
From our never-ending meeting.
All right. Do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the December 7th, 2021 minutes as they are written?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Dan?
Second. Or Dan second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. And item number 3, which is 4, public comment period. And I did not see anybody signed up here physically to speak.
The only person up there is the applicant that Hunter's going to be talking about. Yep.
Okay. Any other public that might be online that wishes to speak in public comment? All right, no public, no comment. Next item on the agenda, number B1, is part of the Public Facilities Manager's update, and the first item is Roundabout plantings update.
As you know, we've been talking about adding the plantings to the roundabout. I've had some discussion with the board, and we have come to the idea that instead of spending $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on plants as ballparked with one of our quotes, that we look to do it in-house. I've got a quote for the plants wholesale at around $1,700–$1,800, and I know that staff is willing to do it, and I've spoken with Bob Nunnenkamp and Councilman Wortman, who said they're willing to help. So just wanted to run that by you guys and see if you were okay with that. But that's sort of the direction I'd like to proceed, is just purchasing the plants ourselves and putting them in ourselves. Don't really need I don't think I need any sort of motion.
One question I have, are we set for, not necessarily right now when we'll be needing it, but once we do get it in, are we already set to where we have some regular watering of them as well?
The well's in, right?
It's not. I don't think it's operational.
It's not operational yet. It should be pretty soon. Kim, do you know?
I didn't know they dug it yet.
Yeah, they've dug it.
It's dug because I cleared for it, and there's
Okay.
There's a pipe.
yeah, there's pipe there.
So I don't know. I didn't know they had been dug yet.
Mm-hmm. So
And being that it's dug, is this going to be a well with a pump submersible down at the bottom of it? Is it pumping and stuff like that? Or is it just dug and casement in?
Well, they would have the pump in, would they not? It's
Yeah,
part,
no,
it's part, at
it should
least
have all-
my experience
it should
has
have all
always
of
been.
that.
Yeah, it'd be, it's sold as a unit pretty much.
Okay.
The pump would be there.
Yeah.
And I went and measured for the piping
That we need
to
run
go
through the
from the
conduit.
well, yeah, to the two different roundabouts. So I know that that's part of
Okay.
what they're quoting in their package.
Okay, so we're, and that was my question, you
Yeah.
know, is, you know, will that stuff kind of be ready to tee off once we get to that point when we need to do the planning?
It's important.
Okay.
Derek, in your mind, what are you, in terms of dates, what are you thinking about to get the plannings done?
Dates,
Yeah.
we just, whatever works for you guys, we can make it happen.
So they've got the plans on hand?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
And what are we talking about ideal times for these plants to be planted?
Before March 15th.
Okay.
Be good.
Which is roughly 2 months away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can go in March?
Oh, February, yeah.
Okay.
As long as they have water.
Okay.
Because they're already dormant for the winter,
Yeah.
so you're planting dormant
Yeah,
plants.
you don't want to plant them later than that,
Yeah,
ideally. But they
Yeah.
tolerate heat extremely well.
yeah,
But as long as we have water on them the first year, they should do very well.
yeah. And the ones that we had there ended up doing better than we thought they would,
Right,
you know,
right.
running through the first
Right.
6 to 8 months.
Yeah, should be okay. But the sooner the better, so.
Is that something just staff and those guys? I mean, you're not gonna want a whole crew out there because
we
you're kind of limited in.
We were
what you
talking
do.
about 8 people,
Yeah,
so 2 per quadrant.
yeah,
So you got
One
a team
plant
of 2,
and one
you
digger.
dig, and you got 2 people. And we have the dirt, and we have, you know, the topsoil, we have everything in place. And
okay,
we have a method to it, and we just don't have a bunch of people standing around. So
yeah,
it should go pretty quickly.
okay. Sounds good to me. Any questions, Dan or Christina or Kimberly? All right, so we've got a target for early to mid-March, I guess, to have those plants in by then. And
I would suggest that we market this a little bit, saying that staff and whoever the village is going to plant these to save money. Because we've gotten some complaints about how much effort and focus we spent on roundabouts and not, you know, fixing up other things. We just take the opportunity.
It's not a bad idea.
If y'all can get me some pictures and just some basic details about what you're doing, just I can put that out.
yeah, maybe, I think we already have targeted a volunteer and work day sometime in April.
That's your you. I don't know what's
So
gonna-
what might be nice is if we do this in early March, we take pictures of it and we kind of market it to try to bring people out for our work day in April.
Well, that sounds good. I think it's a good.
And I'll
idea.
be doing a work day, hopefully in February at the park, so I can promote. We can just kind of domino promote all this stuff.
So we need 8 guys and ladies.
Okay.
That'd be
All right.
ideal, I would think.
Sounds good, thank you.
All right. Next item under Public Facilities Managers update number 2 is Pocket Park update. And Christina, I think that was something you had targeted to speak to.
Yeah, so Derek, please pipe in, last week, I guess, before all the torrential rain started, we got the disgusting privet, the giant mountain of privet out of the pocket park. And, the guy who did it, his name's Taylor, he shot some drone shots and he's made a little video and all kinds of things. So hopefully, Derek can share that with whoever wants to see it. It's pretty cool. He's pretty technologically savvy to be running a bunch of landscaping equipment. But anyway, he got it done in a day. I'm going to go back out and map off where the picnic area will start and stop, and, you know, the people part of it, and then I'm gonna map off where the paths are. And then he's gonna come back in probably Wednesday or Friday and cut those paths out just a little bit lower, well, as low as he can, like to the ground, so that we've got the path started. Beyond that, once we're done with that, then Bob, it's a great time to start getting Boy Scouts to build benches and bird houses and whatever they want, picnic tables, whatever. So it does give us some opportunity to do some smaller Boy Scout projects instead of some of these bigger ones. I know they like to build benches. Well, we could use plenty of them up there.
Yeah.
When you say map out, do you mean put it on paper, or do you mean mark it out physically?
And I'm going to mark it out with paint, and the reason it's kind of been delayed is because between the wind and the rain, I knew that there was no point in bothering. He got finished with the privet pretty late. I can't remember what day it was, what day last week. And anyway, so Taylor and I worked out that I would come back in after the rain and spray off where I wanted to pass. And then he'll come in and just cut those out. He cut all of the goldenrod and all that stuff down to about a foot and a half. And so he'll just cut the paths down to the ground, if that makes sense. And then we can bring some mulch in and mulch those when we can get to it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm gonna go try to do that today. If I don't sink up to my ankles in mud, but that's okay.
All right. Derek, anything more on that?
No, summed it up well.
All right.
Did you like the work he did?
I hadn't seen
Derek?
it.
I did. I just wish it would be more.
More what?
More clearing done.
Okay, well, okay.
Mm.
Well, I think the point was, at least that's what I was told, the point was to create a habitat. If you guys want it to be more like a park with grass, then we need to do it differently.
I just want to create sight lines for safety and security, and not be so dense that people can go in and hide and do stuff they shouldn't be doing. I picked up some litter I would rather not pick up or see out there. Hopefully that the creation of the park will reduce that, if not eliminate it altogether.
Just like kids
Yeah.
partying in the
Pictures
woods
and
type
stuff
of thing.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
not be in bags near parks, yes.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to agenda items letter C, unfinished business. The first item is discussion and recommendation of Heritage Subdivision sketch plan.
So Hunter is not here yet. I'm going to call him in. He asked me to. Just give me 1 second to do that.
Do we want to push that to the end of unfinished business?
I wouldn't, honestly. He said he's ready to talk about it. I just need to physically
Okay.
call him. And he said he was planning on being here in like 15 minutes.
Gotcha.
Hey Hunter, we're at the sketch plan.
Is Ben online?
Yes.
I know that the PRG board wanted to ask questions, so I had Ben go ahead and hop on. So, they mainly just want to kind of, if Ben wants to if he wants to do any type of overview, and then have PRG if they have any specific questions. Like I said, I know there was certain ones on the U-shed buffer and any potential greenway or sidewalk. So I just want to have that discussion.
Okay. Are y'all okay with asking Ben questions about the plan?
Well, do we have something where we can call it up here, or?
Let's throw a copy and get it.
I have, these are the physical plans right here.
Okay.
Yeah, the physical plans are there in my chair, and they were part of their packet, I thought.
Yeah, they should be there in your packet too.
Yeah.
I have one question, and I assume the answer is
Digital
yes.
files on the V drive.
Say that again, Christina?
Has the planning board seen this?
Yes.
Okay.
But the planning board did the same thing that you guys did. They have not made a formal recommendation. They just did the first review.
And Hunter, you said that that the planning. We informed the planning board they may wish to wait until after the PIM is complete, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I guess I'm confused. This is the Heritage Subdivision, not the Heritage District.
No, this is yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's where, yeah. Because then I was looking at this and I thought this was the first we were talking about Heritage District, forgetting that we had spoken about Heritage Subdivision. Well, there were some questions that we had previously on it about the potential in the upper right-hand corner as to whether that easement might allow pedestrian access potentially. I remember that being one of our questions.
That easement is for the sewer and water to come through.
Yeah.
But we have enough room on those lots. I think we could probably mess with the site plan a little bit and put a 20-foot pedestrian access easement, because that would be beneficial to be able to tie into that future roundabout construction, just to tie in all the walkability for that area.
Yeah, and that's what we were kind of thinking along those lines as well. So when we first saw this, we mentioned that at the last meeting. That was the one primary question I recall. Did what else was there? Because
I had a question about, now it's, I don't know what you call that, but like a diagonal line. It's the buffer that's along Newtown on the other side of the roundabout, I guess the left side of the roundabout, whatever you call it. What does that indicate? Not the one with the X's on it, although I'm interested in what that means too.
that's the backside of those properties, isn't it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so what does that look like if I'm driving by?
It looks like that's part of the view shed buffer in between there, the existing houses and the proposed houses, right?
Yeah. What does that look like though? Does it mean it's grass, it's trees, it's, what is it?
I think view shed buffer would be the existing trees and stuff that are there, right?
Yeah,
Over here.
I don't think he gets touched.
Correct.
Yeah.
Our ordinance.
I mean,
this,
for
this,
those people that are living in those houses, because that is a busy road, and I would want as much buffer as I could get.
Yeah.
What is it?
But Hunter was gonna say something, hold on a second. What was that, Hunter?
With little X's on it.
yeah. So I'm barely hearing Christina in the background, but real quick. So this is a conservation subdivision by what our ordinance states is so. There's a formula in there based off the total acreage of, which is 49 something, I can't remember right off the top of my head. But the development has to have a required view shed. The minimum is 85 feet, and the maximum is 285. The formula that takes the acreage into account, and that the maximum still cannot surpass 285. And I want to say with the formula it's supposed to be like 330 or something. I can't. Because it has to do with road frontage and acreage. And so they are the maximum view shed buffer per our ordinance of 285 feet. And so that is the buffer between Newtown Road and then any type of residential lots that are then become buildable.
Okay, my question is, what does it look like? Is it trees? Is it like it is right now? Grass?
Hunter, can you hear me?
Yes.
Did you hear Christina's question?
What does it look like?
Yeah, is it trees or grass? What does the buffer look like? What is it currently?
And then you might want to jump. Well, what is it currently? It's just trees. It's the wooded lot there.
I know it looks like that now.
Yeah, so I think typically when you talk about a view shed buffer, you're talking about it remaining what it is now. And it is currently kind of just a wooded area, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it would remain the current wooded area that it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is what's being proposed. The other thing, I mean, take like Innisbrook, for example. Innisbrook, like when you're from Marvin Road all the way into where their berm is and where the houses begin, that is just a view shed, quote unquote, buffer. It's not trees, but they have a berm. And it's the way our ordinance reads of how the development has to sit so far back from the road before houses can be built, and that view shed buffer can be either fully wooded and existing trees, and or like I think there's opportunity for where if it either is not a wooded lot or something where a berm is planted, but that berm still, like I said, has to be that minimum distance back because it's basically just shedding the view of the development from the main thoroughfare.
So I guess maybe Christina's question in her thinking is when you see what is designated as the actual tree preservation perimeter, that kind of leads you to think that those trees are going to be preserved. But then when you compare that to the just diagonal lines identified as the view shed buffer, that means that it's existing, but it doesn't specifically mean that those trees will be preserved. Can you explain that? Is the intention that those trees will be preserved because they're a part of that view shed buffer? Or is there the potential that they could take all those trees down and make a berm?
Ben, what is your guys' plan in the view shed? Were you going to remain undisturbed?
Yeah, I was going to jump in once he was finished. The intent of that view shed buffer along Newtown Road is to remain just like it is with the trees. Now, we'll obviously have some grading along our road, where our entrance road comes in, but we'll tie that back as quickly as we can, and we'll do entrance plantings and everything along that. But yeah, the intention is for that view shed buffer to remain undisturbed.
Okay.
Does that answer you, Christina?
That is exactly what I wanted to hear, because the idea of cutting down a bunch of trees to plant a couple of shrubs just makes my teeth hurt. So what about the area that is the same diagonal, but it's got little X's on it? It's along what is now Metal Arc.
That's a tree preservation, those trees will be preserved as they are.
Perfect, thank you, because I drive by them every day. Thank you.
No problem.
It's personal.
That's fine.
Yes.
Personal for me and about 25 other people too that live in that neighborhood. Oh, more than that, sorry. 50 people.
All right. Any other further questions or anything?
So do you guys want to make
on the easement here and the discussion about the trail and how we connect here? I'm sorry, I misunderstood how that was phrased earlier in the conversation.
So yeah, in that
access this way.
Yeah, in that section that you're showing there, that's where we were discussing whether it would make sense to give some pedestrian access through that easement. And they seem to be open by that because, those are a little bit larger lots that they have there, it seems. So they I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but you indicated that that might make sense for you guys as well and something you'd look into.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just need to coordinate that with Union County Public Works. They usually get a little bit inky about having a walking trail that they have to replace going through the center of their easement. So I may just need to offset that easement and then add, like a 20-foot pedestrian access easement right adjacent to it. And we have enough room on those lots that it won't affect our square footages. I probably won't have a 20-foot access or pedestrian easement. I'll probably just make it a common area strip. That way it's easier for the HOA to maintain and stay out of everybody's way.
That'd be great, yeah.
Here's where the trail and access to the amenities that are, you know, I'm pretty sure you're probably aware, but that's where it needs to get to safely. Is around the roundabout probably, and then over here.
That roundabout's not there right now.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so as we,
But it will be.
yeah.
yeah, and the thing we keep bringing up is here, whenever DOT builds this, the cheapest time to put in any kind of access and crosswalks and everything is now. And in these houses, you know, it'd be a real shame people crossing this roundabout all the time without actual safety design into it now. And so, I'd like to bring that up again, is that I think it's be critical to coordinate with DOT. If they're about to build this, I believe they're in design now.
So
I
I
agree
guess,
with you.
so I guess what he's saying, Ben, is that when you're looking at that roundabout, and you're looking at that easement, it goes between those properties, but then as you come into that common area, come down to more of that lower spur there, to, you know, where I would think they would potentially be able to better cross, you know, around to get to the main access of the loop.
Yeah, that's not any problem from our side as far as adjusting that. I would say, just some coordination with the crosswalks with DOT.
Yeah.
Once you guys have kind of some final design documents from DOT, I can just make sure that easement lines up with it, because it'll be in our common area, in our tree preservation area, so we would just snake it around those larger trees and get it out where we needed to.
Perfect. Sound good, Dan?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's probably another conversation about making sure we coordinate with DOT. But
Yeah.
the other question I had is, we've had experiences in other developments, I think, where the actual trail getting in or the access to that isn't put in, or future trails isn't put in with the development, and then getting it later is kind of difficult. Is the intent in the like a paved trail to whatever access that is, or is it just the?
We actually like to do the trails that are made out of granite fines. They're a little bit easier to maintain, and from an overall standpoint, the HOA maintaining them for the longevity of the neighborhood, we prefer to do that. It's not necessarily a cheaper initial installation, it's a cheaper maintenance installation going past. It also makes it look a little bit more natural, but we would entertain the idea of a paved trail. We just like to make ours out of granite fines. But that's something we'd be open to discuss.
What is granite?
I guess more the question is building it with the development as opposed to when that happens later.
No, we would build it with our development. We don't like to do things later. We like to put everything in for our neighborhoods that are going to be there. That way the folks understand what they have. Plus it allows the HOA folks, as we start to do the future budgets, everybody knows what's supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's very important for us, and we appreciate that too, because we've run into issues where we have easements or potential things to be developed that don't necessarily get communicated to the people buying into the subdivision, and it becomes a surprise and much more difficult after that.
Ben, what is granite vines?
Fines.
Vines?
Fines. Screenings.
Granite fines are really small. I'm trying to think of a good. Have you saw the small chip stone that goes in like the crawl space of a house?
Yeah.
It's about that size, but it's crushed up granite, and you can compact it. It makes a really nice hard surface for the trail, and you can drain it so that you can drain it one way or the other. You can crown it in the middle, and it has a really long lifespan. So it's easy for the future for the HOA. Once the developer's gone, it's really easy for the HOA in the future to maintain it, and it's basically new state without having to repave it every 6 to 10 years. Because repaving those paved trails, because they require small pavers, and there's not a lot of companies that do them anymore, become a little bit of a burden on the HOA, once you get 8 or 9 years into development. Whereas the granite fines make a really nice natural looking trail that's easy to maintain, it drains well. They can spray it for weeds once or twice a year if they want to do that, if they have problem areas. But like I said, we're open to discuss both options, that's just our preference.
Hey Ben, this is Derek. I'm the public facilities manager. Is Hunter still on the phone?
Yes, he is.
Okay, Hunter, you and I can probably get together on this, but I think our ordinance would state that they would need to build it to what our ordinance is now with the crushed concrete. And Ben, that would probably be if cheaper, or if not, about the same price. It would match our ordinance, and it'd be the same, sustainability that you're talking about. It's just what we do our natural surface trails in around town.
Sure. The other thing I was thinking about, if somebody wants to see what a granifying trail looks like, we have a project on Ncdot Church Road called Falls at Weddington. The big amenity green to the left side of the pool house has a granite fine trail that winds through it. So if someone wanted to see what that looked like, that would be, you could look there. But yeah, I'm okay with crushed concrete. If that's what you want to use, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that is, Derek is right. Our ordinance, we do have a generalized standard now for greenway and paths and trails. It's a standard, it's a base minimum, but however, a developer or, whoever applicant can go above and beyond those standards. I don't know if crushed concrete is higher than is the crushed gravel. That's something that, that will be kind of done during the review process, and if it's not, and then that will be noted, and they need to then get their plans up to standard before they're approved.
Okay. And I'm okay either way. I mean, if that's a standard that the village has, I'm okay with the crushed concrete. We despise mulch trails, for obvious reasons.
So do we now.
Yeah, but the crushed concrete doesn't make a difference. It's probably priced very similar to the granite fines, and I can still compact it and grade it just as well. So I'd be okay with that. There's no reason to even discuss that any further unless you want to.
I would say that we could look at the granite fines option a little bit, because if you look at the gravel, it's a little coarser, it's like I used to have, or still have, I guess. Whereas the granite fines is a little smoother and a little less rough on their knees in the end if they fall. But it's just worth looking at what the options are, maybe. A quick question for the group generally. Is this area big enough that it would be nice to have trail kind of like that you got around Marvin Creek? Meaning big enough that it would be interesting to have some kind of trail for the village here in that wooded view shed?
No, because, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think you'd only really be going.
I would think the goal of the trail, our trails are to give access and connectivity. I think at that point we would just be building an amenity, because it really wouldn't go anywhere. It would go into South Carolina and then we're done.
I think it's like maybe it's like a half-mile loop you would do. I'm not sure if I did that. It's probably a little less than that through there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna want a public loop in their neighborhood. That's up to them.
I think you're kind of putting a loop there, though, that would really be just mostly for their neighborhood. This is more to give that subdivision connectivity to the main loop, I think.
Okay, no, just asking.
Because, when we create more of those things rather than the interconnectivity, then we're potentially, increasing the maintenance costs going further,
It's also just cutting down more trees to make the trail. I have another question. Is this, since we've shown this now twice in our meetings, I assume that it's up for grabs for the public? Has the public seen this?
What do you? I mean, it's been when you say public has seen this. I mean, it has been on open meetings, meaning that yes, it has been part of your meeting twice now, and went to the planning board back in December. They have to have a public involvement meeting, which is currently scheduled. I know we discussed like January 19th, but we might push it off to the next week in January. At that point, all property owners within, I think, it's either 1,300 or 2,300 square feet are notified. The property's posted and an affidavit's in the paper for the public involvement meeting. They have to have two-hour sessions, which I think they're doing both at Village Hall. One has to be during normal work hours, and one has to be not, or one can be after the fact. So when that fully gets scheduled, then those notifications will go out, and that's when I guess the first step of the public involvement piece. But then at the adoption of the sketch plan, there's also a public hearing.
Okay. I was normally in my neighborhood, the person on the planning board shared stuff like this, and I noticed that didn't happen, so I was making sure it wasn't my job.
And the planning board has not given a recommendation yet because they haven't held that meeting.
Because we're going to have a couple people in our neighborhood, and those three up at the top of the road that are not in our neighborhood that are, going to have something to say, no doubt.
So are we looking to provide any sort of recommendation out of this meeting with some of the things we discussed?
So you can make a recommendation if you wish, contingent upon any revisions that would result from the public input meeting, or you can do like the planning board is doing and wait until they hold the public input meeting to make a recommendation.
We're probably just waiting. Okay.
What did you say?
I had asked if we need any recommendation or anything.
I told them they can do
one.
They can do one, or they can do one contingent upon public input meeting, or they can wait.
Yeah, my recommendation would be, taking some of these comments that have been, our ordinance has a set of, once again, standards. And this is by right, they're compliant.
Yeah.
We as the PRG for the public involvement meeting, they can receive input, suggestions. The applicant can go above and beyond. So it would be my recommendation, since this plan is, or the current submittal is compliant with our standards, if you guys would like to make a recommendation that is just contingent upon that there's no significant changes to the site plan, which one would be, so that then you can, if not, then we can wait to the February meeting. It's completely fine.
Yeah, I think we probably get through the public involvement meeting, and then we'll make our recommendation from there. And then that'll give them a little bit more time to take a look at, that easement and make sure that they feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
The way we discussed it.
Ben, is there anything you want to add?
No, I appreciate the comments, and it's nice to have these meetings up front like this so we can make some of these small changes to the site plan, and everybody's on the same page from the beginning. So I really appreciate everybody taking time to review that and let me jump on the meeting to talk through some of those things.
Thank you for taking the time.
Sure. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, next in the unfinished business is item number 2, discussion of Eagle Scout Park Sign Project.
Since our last meeting, I've been working with Hunter and Derek and the Eagle Scout, Eric Brockman, and we have determined the location for the sign. It'll be vertical to the road, and we're going to avoid all easements. Eric has submitted a drawing that Derek and I have looked at and approved. Dan, just informationally, the hole's going to be 2.5 feet deep. The sign will be about 7.5 feet above ground. And unlike last time, we won't put in 1,500 pounds of concrete. We'll do something else, I think. But anyway, the young man's been great to work with. He's put a good sketch together. The frame will be painted brown. There'll be 4 posts, each 6 by 6. We're no longer going to do the stone underneath the sign. We're going to do river rock or something similar to river rock. They won't wash and it'll be very attractive. And so as long as everybody's okay, we're on go. And I just need to tell Eric that to start the process. And here's the copies. I don't know if you need one last time.
I always do.
I'll add in is that, as I've, expressed to you and Derek, our sign ordinance is a little all over the place. So originally I was, based off of some of the information I had and where it was going to go, I was trying to justify it as what we had. We have a sign called monument sign. This really falls right into that. However, it needs DRB approval. We kind of threw that on the agenda for DRB/planning board back in December. They were a little upset because we didn't have a rendering and stuff, and they wanted to set a standard, and they wouldn't accept something if this was from a generalized applicant. And I tried to explain to them that the monument sign is a little different because it's mainly it's for civic use. I mean, it's basically it has to have either like a city or county seal or state seal or that organizational seal. So however they tabled it. With that being said, there's another.
Who's DRB?
Planning board.
It's design review board. With
Is
that
that
being
a committee as a part of the planning board?
The entire board serves a
yeah,
certain
our
purpose.
ordinance establishes the DRB board, and then basically it says planning board
It
is
gives us the plan.
yeah.
Okay.
This is the first I've heard about that.
Well, it was
We deal with it a lot.
yeah. They take the DRB, they follow it to a T. However, our DRB language is slightly probably got some illegal things into it. Our attorneys even said that. So it's kind of like what their actual authority is still hasn't been clear. That's one of these things that I have to work on and clean up. So with that being said, I think that based off the information provided and where you guys want to go, I don't have to maybe justify it as a monument sign, and it doesn't have to get DRB approval.
Wait, so why isn't a monument sign?
Because I think based off of where Derek and where you guys picked out, it meets the setback requirements of, I think it was just like the ground mounted postman like signage. And that's just a by right, that just get a zoning or a sign permit, and Derek's already filled one out.
Well, what would be involved in getting the DRB approval?
They wanted a rendering. That was all they wanted. And Derek was out of the office that day, and I honestly didn't think it was going to be that big of an issue.
Well, rendering like that?
No, I didn't give them that. They wanted to know what the sign looked like, and Austin told them what the sign that it was.
They want to know the building materials, the whole shebang.
Yeah, I said Riverwalk. I said the post. I said the sign's 4x6. I said I don't know fully what it looks like, and then that's when Austin said it's similar to our existing sign, just a different slight modifications. But they were so not pleased with that, and because basically a sign permit's needed one way or another, but the monument sign would have had to got DRB approval before I could issue the sign permit. It's weird because the monument sign is the only one, that and then any type of commercial signage is the only one.
I don't want us to be in conflict with the planning board. And I'd like to do this where everybody feels.
Well, and that was the other thing that was unclear, because they brought up a good point. They were like, well, what are we voting on? Are we voting on the location, the material, the rendering? Because it's like, and that's just the thing, is their authority is not clear, and even by what in our ordinance doesn't even state what they were really supposed to be voting on.
So they've never seen the sign that Derek developed?
I've never seen the sign.
No, Derek got me a rendering what was it, the day after when you came in, because he was out of the office that Monday and Tuesday. And like I said, we put it on the agenda. I let him know. I didn't think that it was going to be an issue, and it just happened that it was during the moment, and I was like, okay, well,
Oops.
Said, so they requested to table it, basically they requested to table it and have the rendering.
When is their next meeting?
It's the 20th or 18th.
18th.
So
John, what are your thoughts?
that's,
If there is a conflict, Bob, we could have him start to construct everything in a manner, we could piece it together once the spot is approved. But he could start building some of the pieces. He could build the whole thing. It might be heavy to move, but I mean, he literally could build it, down by the shop, and we store it there, and then get it on a trailer and move it up to the front of the park. If other teams that we need to hold off until that meeting.
Well, I just don't want to be in conflict with another community
go grab the
of the Village of Marvin. I want this to be a community and
Yeah.
everybody to embrace this as a community. I don't want this to become a divisive issue, if it's going to be. And can we, John?
Well,
what
I
are-
guess
what are
the
your
question
thoughts?
is, though, is that the reason it was brought to them in the first case is because it was being designated as a monument. I thought what I heard them say is that because of where it's situated, that there's another classification that it could fall into,
so
not being a monument, which then doesn't require the design review.
correct. The reason I was doing this as a monument sign was because monument signs allow for a little bit larger type signage. Okay, one, like I said, our sign ordinance is got issues. Like, it talks about the base height of one sign being 2 feet, and it's like, how is that even possible? Like, and that, and well, sorry, it doesn't even say base height. It says height of the sign. So, and for subdivision monuments, that's what it is. And it's like, you think those are anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. So the monument signs defined as, let's see here. So one, we have double post and panel identification sign. That's one type of identification ground permitted signs. That's not what I'm considering that at yet, but I can go that route, I think, based off of the setbacks. The one that I was classifying at it as was the monument type, which I just have to find that specific language here. But basically, that allowed for different type, like I said, dimensional requirements. They had different dimension requirements than just the ground permitted signs, and that's where it was easier to go that route outside of DRB approval. However, I think I can still justify, because even though this is panel, I think the maximum square footage for ground permitted signs, it says 20, and this is larger than 20 at a 4x6, and then it says except as otherwise may be permitted in non-residential and mixed-use districts. Like I said, our ordinance is kind of all over the place, so it's kind of, it's tough. So the two routes is I've told Derek, I said, I think that I can still justify this as another permitted ground sign, and we're okay. If we put the clearest definition, like as in what it is closely identified as, would be a monument sign. And with that being said, it would need DRB approval, and can get that on the 18th. Derek can, as Derek mentioned, for the Eagle Scout to get started, can go ahead and build the post, because really DRB doesn't have it, like legally they can't deny this. They just wanted to have a quote unquote complete application. And that was just missing.
So, John, are you okay with me getting directive to Eric to move forward with the product, in terms of purchasing the wood? We've already got, the signs over there in place. Do everything. In fact, probably dig holes for that matter. You just don't put anything in place until after the.
Yeah, I think
And that
that's
way,
the best way to handle it, so we're not holding them up another, 3
Let's
weeks.
do that.
So,
Okay.
Derek, you okay with that?
Yeah.
So you guys
Just tell
are,
me when you want to dig so I can call locate.
Okay.
And
Get up with Eric and find out when he wants to do that, and I'll get back with you.
so you guys are gonna build the sign off site and then just install once the board.
is that Eric on
No, Eric's not on.
I'm pretty sure that's a different Eric.
the, okay.
So, okay.
So you're gonna,
I'm not sure how he's gonna go about that. I'll let him know. that-
but are you going for DRB approval? That's what I need to
Yes.
know. Okay.
We're gonna wait till the 18th to, and, you know, we need to have the
The rendering.
What time is that?
we need the signs.
6.
And
You know, that's what they're gonna be.
do any of us need to be here?
If you maybe just want to be available for maybe a phone call, but
What time, or what day?
Tuesday, January 18th.
What they will need, Hunter, will need is the actual sign itself.
I'm gonna bring the sign.
You're gonna bring, I mean, you can, but I was about to say, Derek gave me this,
That thing's so
so.
heavy. It says planning board meeting that night.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
what
planning board.
Oh,
DRB
okay.
is planning board.
I got you, sorry.
Because the post of the post, I mean, they're 6x6 treated lumber and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, a landmark design is a sign that exhibits unique characteristic that enhances the streetscape or identity of a neighborhood and is such to contribute to historical or cultural character of the area or community at large. And, oh wait, that's one. But, where was? It says it shall be designed as for an institution of historical establishment, government agency, or recognized by a historical society, and it shall bear an emblem, logo, or graphic of the civic institution or agency. And that's kind of where all this kind of falls in. And then it just randomly says, the sign shall be approved by the design review authorities as a landmark sign. And that's, it's like, that's the only, like, this is the only type of signage for certain things like that if it's not commercial.
Sorry. Hi, guys.
Hey.
No, hey,
Okay,
I gotta go home for a meeting.
so I think we're good.
Yeah.
So you're gonna work with Eric on what? In the
I'm
meantime?
gonna tell him to go ahead and proceed with the construction,
Okay.
just not the implementation. of it,
Gotcha.
Until after the 18th.
Yeah.
And then I'll also find out when he's getting ready to dig, so I can tell Derek so he can get up with utilities to make sure we don't cut anything.
Nothing's gonna change in the front of the park. I can go ahead and call locate, right? There's no construction or nothing would change in 20 days.
No.
Right, the only thing about when they use a water-based paint, so if you wait too long before you, but you could take pictures of it
Yeah.
and measure it off and.
Well, I mean, the
so-
area, there's nothing in that area, so if it's clear, it's clear.
Yeah, it's just a matter of the paint
Yeah,
marks.
I don't
know.
Here, over 20 days, I would probably take some kind of mark
So,
and make sure that
they need
you
the
picture
original.
it, so you know where the marks are.
Yeah. There's gonna be water, you know, maybe electricity, but
Well, I'm sure, as soon as you tell me they've marked,
yeah, we'll come mark it.
I'll tell Eric to start digging.
Okay.
That way we don't have to worry about wash or.
They may be 4 or 5 days out getting there.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I had to use them recently, they're a few days out.
yeah, they're behind right now.
But,
So.
and I'll mention though, everything else, now that everything else is compliant, it just needs to get that proper approval by the DRB.
Okay. All right, moving on to, next item, unfinished business is number 3, discussion of 2022 Marvin Day celebration, Saturday, May 21st.
All right, I hope to kind of keep this minimal today. These are sponsorship tracking forms. Well, just because we have a joint meeting coming up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we
25th,
have, we have a workshop this,
Yeah, we have
this
a work
month?
session coming up, but, for formality, I was just gonna go through this, spreadsheet and see if anybody had any updates.
Just the time again on the 25th, the joint meeting?
Derek,
It'll be 9 a.m.
Okay.
I'll mention, I reached out to the developer for Publix, and I'm coordinating with him because Publix has a master list of their tenants. Like basically, all the people in Marvin Gardens has to get approval by Publix, basically to rent from them. I've got certain information based off of permits, but some of those people are like contractors and stuff, so I don't have like maybe the manager or the owners of those establishments. He's supposed to be calling me back today, so I'll have all those contact information for all the businesses in Marvin Gardens and including the general manager for Publix to get those sponsorships.
Okay.
And potentially the developer as well.
I think that the manager for Publix, Joe talked to them and they were either reaching out to Jamie or Christina about being a sponsor.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm just gonna go through the tabs here, and that way we can just kind of keep it on one topic, and you just tell me if you have any updates. That's mine. That's mine. That's Jamie's. That's mine. Nature walks. Christina, anything to add to that? Pretty straightforward.
No, I will just make one happen
Okay.
at the park, right?
Yep.
Should be, gosh, I hope it's easy.
T-shirts and logos.
So I sent requests for 2 quotes. I would like to get a third one. I think you guys use a particular person. I sent out to them. They really struggled to get me a quote without very specific information. But the one that we used for the Heritage Festival, I sent her the exact same email, and she was able to give me a quote where we would get T-shirts for about $5.50 or $6 a piece, and we could put whatever we want to on them. So or maybe if it was less than that, the more you buy, the cheaper it is, kind of thing per shirt. So if you want me to look for another quote, I'm happy to do that, or we can go with these 2 and decide off of them.
Okay. What? Maybe see what you could do before the 25th and just bring that information then?
Well, I'm not going to be here on the 25th. I won't be here for the 25th or the 1st.
Okay.
But I can send it along.
Yeah, just pass it along to me, and I'll note it in the spreadsheet, and we'll present it that day.
Okay.
All right.
But the 2 quotes are enough. You don't need a third one.
Would that fall in the purchasing policy?
Say the question again.
To purchase T-shirts for the event, is that going to fall in the purchasing
Who's
policy?
purchasing?
Let me check with finance about that.
The village is spending money, and it falls into our purchasing policy.
I mean, it's easy enough to find somebody else to give us a quote.
Below a certain threshold.
Well, anything spent applies to the policy, but
$5.50 times.
there's different requirements depending on the threshold, depending on how much you're spending.
I also think you want to be thinking about how many T-shirts you really want to get, and do you want to sell them versus do you want to give them away, that kind of thing. That will help us kind of narrow down this whole T-shirt business.
Agreed.
But you can we can do whatever we want.
Hold on for 1 second.
Okay. Just let me know what you find out before that meeting or before you leave.
I've got the quotes, I'll send them, well, I've got the one, and I'll just make the other one tell me something.
Okay. Garden tours, Bob, anything new to add?
Not a thing.
All right, perfect, thank you. Art tours?
Nothing.
Good. What I like to hear. Ice cream truck?
We're set.
Good. Pony rides. I'm gonna hold that one till John gets back. Food trucks, Dan, anything?
No, I need to knock that out, so I'll do that this week or next week.
Okay.
You guys haven't called any, right? When I say you guys a list, I know you wanted that, but you haven't talked to anybody that you lined up?
No, not specifically, but we can collaborate on that between now and the 25th and bring that
And
information.
if you have anybody specific, let me know, but otherwise I'll just kind of knock it out for the instructions.
Okay.
Dan, did you get the pizza truck that I sent you via text? This was a couple months ago now. Yeah, they're at the Waxhaw Farmers Market, and I can attest to their goodness.
Yeah, it's alright. I kinda, between the holidays and stuff, I didn't do my job yet, so I'll do it this week.
No worries, no worries. I think you've got plenty to choose from, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I think it won't be too bad when I just sit down and do it.
Okay. John, pony rides, anything?
I'm still working on the pony rides. I think I shared that we do have some level of commitment for the event of an exhibition
Oh, we do?
over at Cedar Hill.
Okay.
And I'm gonna meet with them here in the coming weeks.
That would be at their site?
It's at their site, but one thing that I want to make sure that we do right is the timing of it, because my thinking is that because their site is literally across the street from the high school,
Yeah.
that, you know, they always typically have an issue with parking,
Yeah.
so that we would be able to use the high school lot and people could walk across to the exhibition. We talked about having an
Oh, yeah.
officer there potentially or
Gotcha.
something, yeah. But the pony rides, I've got a couple of leads, but I gotta follow up on.
Okay. Doesn't Shay do the pony rides?
Well, Shay just sold, I
Yeah,
believe,
they're
and
moving.
turned
They did.
over. Yeah, so that's, yeah,
Interesting.
They're out of here at the end of the month.
yeah.
My daughter takes lessons.
But they're-
them.
They're selling the farm to somebody
It's
else.
already sold to Robbie. He bought it. So, but they're gonna continue to do horseback riding lessons there for now. For now, until he decides to do something different, but, yeah, they're out of here at the end of the month. Their house should be ready.
Who's Roddy?
Robbie, the guy that owns the property over here with the fire home,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he bought it.
So that covered the equine
I
event
wanted to talk
Yeah.
about
page as well.
any areas about it.
Okay.
Let's go discuss. Just surprises that I did.
Firethorn open house.
So I had gotten an email from the general manager, and they're fully on board. We're supposed to meet, within the next month or so, just to kind of firm up what they're gonna do, but it's looking like that's also gonna be November guest weekend for Firethorn. So they're gonna put together some sort of shuttle system for their, the wives of the participants, and to hopefully shuttle them around to different Marvin Day events. So hopefully that'll get us, you know, less parking issues, but have more participation. But so that's like for participation, but they're also gonna have something set up. I believe it's gonna be over at the pool and tennis pro shop, where people can come in and get information about Firethorn and get some, you know, food and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna try to get that nailed down. I got that email from him right before the holiday. So, and they are also going to be they're also going to be a sponsor. We're supposed to send them an invoice. I want to say silver.
That's what it says on this sheet, yeah.
Okay, so silver. So we just have to get them their invoice, and they should be sending us that check.
What about like a little putting contest with some sort of Marvin Day souvenir? Will they open the
I
putting
think-
green?
I think it's going to be hard having member guests that weekend. They
Okay.
had originally been all for having like a long drive contest, something at the putting green. They were going to have everything set up at the clubhouse. But because they, even though we told them that this was the date before they picked their date, you know, we're trying to work with what we got.
Okay, so there we go.
But I'll ask again.
Yeah, so the good news is they're on board, just details to be refined.
Correct.
Awesome, thanks. Raptor Center, still good?
Still good. I'm going to send them an email just to confirm everything and try to get a little bit more confirmation of the space that they need, like outside for a booth, at the park for the duration of the day, and then also kind of updating me on if they have any sort of rehabilitated animals to be released. So I'm gonna be sending them an email to get an update, so I will hopefully have heard back from them by our, meeting later this month.
Okay. And who was gonna be in charge of seeing about a QR code? Was that?
I feel like it was Christina, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Derek. I thought about that the other night, and I was like, ooh, we need to work on that. I feel like Christina was gonna do it.
Okay.
You mean me, Christine, or the other Christine?
The other Christina.
Good.
Yeah, not you, Christina, the other one.
Okay. Alright. Closing event, concert. Anybody have any update there?
Yeah, so I have a quote from the stage guy who we have tentatively reserved. He needs to know if he's coming or not. And we can go from about a $3,200 price tag for the stage to a $4,600 price tag for the stage. Depends on what you want. That's for all day, that's for setup, tear down, all that stuff. A sound guy on site, all the sound equipment, lights, roof or not, depending on which quote you pick. And I think there's some wiggle room in these quotes. So, but if we don't decide pretty soon, there won't be any wiggle room because he will take another gig.
Christina, what's the
Christina.
difference between a 4,600 and a 3,200?
Sounds like.
What's the difference?
Yeah,
So the cheap one has no roof on it, which I would not, well, you know, I guess if it's raining, we're not doing it at all. So because this gig is at night, that makes the roof less of an issue. But, so that's the big thing about the cheaper one, it's the roof on it. The other is more between the $4,000 quote and the $4,600 quote, it's the type of lights that you have. One are, they have a, more motion to them, and on the cheaper quote, it's more of a static light. So you just got lights shining, they don't move around and stuff like a concert.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. But this all does include a sound guy on site, which in my opinion is absolutely necessary. That's the thing that will throw a performance off more than anything. You can have really crappy musicians, but if you have a decent sound guy, you'll be okay, if you get my drift. But you can have the best band in the world and a bad sound guy or a bad sound system, and it won't matter.
All right. Do you think, do we have until the 25th to give him an answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you get up with Councilman Line before then? And
I can try. I will send this to him and you know, you guys can decide on the 25th, and I'll let Kevin, who is the sound and stage guy, know that we'll make a decision by then.
And I think we should have Jamie at that 25th meeting, Austin, if you can ask him to join us on that.
I think that's a joint meeting.
And you guys will have a joint meeting in March.
Oh, I thought you were saying that was a joint meeting.
Joint meeting in
Okay,
March.
so that's just a workshop on the 25th.
The 25th is the normal work session. We have a joint meeting scheduled in March, and I'll pull up the date now.
And Jamie is supposed to be on that 25th because he's kind of our council.
No, he's not
liaison
planned.
for
He's
that.
not. He's not initially planned to be here at this next one, but I can have him
Oh,
here.
okay. Yeah, if you could.
I'll go ahead and tell you the date for your joint meetings. Give me 1 second.
And I'll make sure to update him as much as I can, I mean, depending on what we have. About that, anything else.
Your March work session is the joint meeting. That's March 29th. Because you guys wanted to have one joint meeting. You guys want to have a joint meeting before Marvin Day, and your joint meetings are normally in March. So I will get Jamie here.
Is that a regular meeting that's a joint meeting, or?
It's a work session. It's a joint
work
meeting.
session, joint meeting.
So you do want Jamie at on the 25th.
Yeah.
So I will talk to him. I'll talk to him and see if he's available.
All right, I'm gonna skip fireworks. I'm gonna skip car show. And we did sponsorships. That's all I have. Oh, Austin, you have anything for Village Hall meet and greet?
I do. I've contacted Gene Stowe. He is all on board. He's excited about it. I'm going to get him some more details as we get a little closer. He's obviously very flexible, but he says he wants much more information about specific times and what he exactly would need. So we can get him more details as we get a little closer. But he's all on board.
Okay, that's awesome. Anybody have anything for Gretchen as far as marketing and advertisements?
I think we need to have something by the 25th, like a pamphlet, a blurb, all of the things that we're gonna need. Like, we need to have that by the 25th so that we can approve it and start sending it out, because we need to really, it's January. It's gonna be on us really quickly. So I would say we need to have basically all marketing, whatever we think we may need, something set up for an interview for the news, stuff to send out on Twitter or whatever we use. I don't use all that stuff, so I don't know. But anything that we think we need to have it, and so we can approve it on the 25th and start pushing it out there. We also need to be pushing out like the sponsorship stuff, Austin, like on our weekly, here's what's happening in Marvin, like sponsorships need to be at the top. If we could just, whatever, because I know we've got stuff out there like, be a sponsor, but that needs to be at the top of every single thing that we're putting out there. Because, we need money. And if you guys on the board know anybody, that any businesses that you guys can ask, please do so, because people don't want to part with money right now.
Much as it pains me for Bob to be right, we probably need to think about a banner somewhere, right, Bob?
A what?
A what?
Banners.
A banner.
Banner.
It seems like this community responds to banners. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that means they're stuck in traffic.
I like a good banner.
I like a good banner.
It's
We might want to think about putting one early on at the park in front of wherever Village Hall is, whichever one we're using, or both of them, or whatever. Wherever somebody will let us. We do that for the Heritage Festival too. And it seems to help just kind of remind people. And this one's going to inform them.
I think it's a good idea, Christina. I also think that maybe we can have Hunter ask Russ Odell and stick it at the end of Marvin Road and Newtown Road, where everybody sits when they're waiting for traffic. And I mean, I'm sure that currently right now Russ Odell owns it. He would have no problem with us putting up a giant sign there. Put a banner there, because people have to sit there, and then they'll look at it and they're like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then they'll go look and they'll figure it out. But I think it's a great idea, and I think we should have more than one. Like, we need to have a few for this,
I thought
gotta get the word out.
I thought we already requested having a couple made, but just like leaving the date open so that we could change it each year.
One of the things we've done with the Heritage Festival, finally, I talked them into this, is we're putting the date on it, but we're making it not so small you can't read it, but so that we can cover it later with another piece of vinyl for next year's date.
Yeah, that's easy.
Right?
Okay.
And
So just do the first one this year with the date?
It saves a little.
Okay.
Our sign ordinance might come into play. I'll have to ask Hunter what we can do to get around that. But I think if we start, like you guys say, put up a bunch of banners around town, it might create some buzz or some interest to where somebody is like, what are all these banners I'm seeing everywhere? And
If you can put the banner in Union County on Ray Road or Providence, you don't have any rules to deal with, so it's a lot easier.
I know that's true.
Yeah, or even the corner over by the school. you know, by the high school.
Yeah.
Bob, so for banners, if we're gonna do multiple banners, should they all look identical or should they be different?
No. My opinion, they should be consistent.
I'm thinking they should be the same so that you
Yeah.
see it, oh, it's Marvin Day thing again. And it's like it starts sticking in your mind because you gotta see something like 10 times to really absorb it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to have all the info, it's just gotta create the buzz.
Yeah, just a
It's
Marvin
supposed to
Day
say
and then the date,
Yeah.
Make it simple.
and maybe even just put our website down below
5/21,
or something.
22.
You have
That's
three,
what I was gonna say, John. Put the village website on there.
you have three
Yeah,
seconds.
I know
for
it.
it.
And I would say let's have that, like, done and ordered by the 25th, so we can get them up in February. Everything needs to, like, start getting pushed out February 1st.
There needs to be a timeline on all this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have a good banner guy, but we have a good one that's printing off for us for Marsh and his prices are very good.
And he's very
What do you-
dependable.
Are y'all using All-Star?
No.
Yeah. I've got a
Kenny
guy.
Collar over off of Westinghouse.
You probably need 3 quotes anyway, so there's 1 quote if you got another guy, yeah.
But this guy we work with so dependable.
Do we have the logo file?
Well, we have an owl.
But-
There was some debate over what color he was.
But have we finalized that and put that on a file?
I was, as far as I know, yeah.
I have not received a file of any type. If we're gonna do a banner, if we're gonna if we're gonna get a banner, you need a vector logo, and I do not have that as of now.
I will make sure that you do. Do you want me to send it to you, Austin, or who do you want me to send it to?
You can send it to me, and I can just save in our files, and I can give it to Derek for whatever banner he's gonna get,
Okay.
or whoever's gonna make the banner. But we just need a copy in our files for future use.
What color owl did we decide on?
He's a reddish
The
brown, isn't he?
latest one was kind of a reddish color, but you know, it can be whatever color you want.
Let's use what.
And frankly, the color could change depending on different things, right? If you wanted to do it that way.
I think for
I
now,
don't
we
love
keep
the
it
brown
simple.
owl.
Well, he's actually red.
I don't like the red owl either.
Okay, then you gotta tell me a different color.
I don't know. Oh, Austin and I like the black and yellow owl.
What?
What?
Austin, the black and yellow owl.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Was it not you that found the black and gold owl, but he was mean, but we want to make him the happy owl?
I have no idea what you're talking about. That's not me.
Well,
Yeah,
Somebody does.
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Christina.
All right.
The other one.
Let's create the file where the color can be altered if necessary.
Well, that would require some InDesign abilities, but whatever. That's fine. But I will send you a vector file, so it will lift you and extend it to make it smaller and it will still look good.
Okay. That's all I have or need for Marvin Days. Anybody have anything else?
Okay.
I might, I kind of list on a different place.
Time's up.
Oh, okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think it's too late really anyway, but, Bob mentioned it last meeting and I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Something to the scale that we're doing, and it being the first time and we wanna do it really, really well, I think that we need somebody from the outside to help us. Call it an event planner, call it a marketing person, whatever you wanna call it. But this is a lot of work, and now we've got 5 months to get it done. So I'm just throwing it out there. Bob said it last time. I won't say it anymore.
What? Give me a little more details on what that looks like.
Well, I have a colleague sort of that she does big events for, like, what's the Providence, Fountains at Providence or whatever, the ones where there's the Lowe's and the Home Depot across the street from each other. I can't remember what it's called. She does it for Stonecrest, places like that. So she does big events for malls, and she's done it for other things too. I mean, she's been in business for probably 25, 30 years. I'm not saying that she's the person, but I know that she does that kind of work. And so for a particular event, she handles the way things look, the way the information gets disseminated, the social media side, just all the things that, we're gonna forget something, I promise.
I thought that we looked into, and it might have been like a year ago or something, but I forget what it was, but didn't we look into hiring somebody for some specific PR work and stuff like that? And when the quote came back, we were just kind of like, whoa, okay, looks like we're doing that for ourselves. And I thought that was something much simpler than this.
So Jamie and Gretchen have taken on extra hours to essentially do those functions, and so they're working overtime.
Well,
being compensated for it, of course, but yes.
Well, then you kind of made my point in a way. But if there is capacity in the group, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Every time we added something to the list, we said, well, staff will do it, and I mean, they can't continue to do that. So if they're willing to do the overtime, then I guess it's,
I think it's just for me, it's a matter of, marketing the event. We can have all the activities we'd like and they can be very well executed, but if we don't have marketing for it, it's fairly irrelevant. And, who's sitting down to figure out, as an example, Waxhaw Sports Magazine? Are we going to have an article in it? Are we going to have an article in the Valentine Magazine? How are we going to reach out to the local community? Are we going to have pamphlets in stores? What's the copy going to look like? Who's going to do the maps for the garden tour? Who's going to do, all that? And when does it have to be completed? When's it going to get printed? Who's going to set the dates and the times for all those activities? And each one of them requires somebody staying on top of things and making sure that as an example, February the 2nd, using Kim Vandenberg's comment, banners, when's the copy going to get done? When are the banners approved? When are the banners going to be in place? And each and every one of those elements needs to be looked at. So my first question would be, who's writing all the copy?
Well, that's very good questions, and we're running short of time. The only publication I've ever dealt with is the Waxhaw Sports Monthly, and I know Gus has a month ahead deadline. So if essentially by the end of January, he's working on March.
This is my only point.
Yeah, I know you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, so a person that I'm not just talking about like a wedding planner that makes sure the bride walks down the aisle at the right time, but all the stuff that goes, that you just don't even realize goes behind the scenes to get us there. And just to Bob's point, exactly what he's talking about. I mean, we just added banners. Well, who's going to design the banner? Who's going to print the banner? Who's going to hang the banner? I mean, what does the banner say? All those, there's so many questions.
I think that going back to what I said a little bit ago was all of this stuff needs to be to us by the January 25th meeting. And the people that took on the extra work are Jamie and Gretchen. They're in charge of it. They need to figure it out. If they're not at this meeting, which I don't see, I know Jamie's not, I can't see, but this is stuff that needs to be relayed to them, and it has to be done. Again, it's whoever's setting up television interviews, whoever's sending in articles for these magazines. I know I've given Austin a couple different magazines. I have another one here. Everything that Bob just said, all the pamphlets, the maps, all of that stuff needs to be done by the 25th, because we need to approve it at that point, and everything needs to start going out the 1st of February. It's a lot of work, I agree, but they've decided to take this on. They've got roughly 21 days to get information together so that we can look at it and approve it. They're the ones that wanted to do it. They said they'd step up and do it because they didn't, we didn't want to hire anybody else, so this has got to get done. And people got to, I'm sorry, but people got to get to meetings so they can listen to this stuff, because it's not my job to then relay it to them.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm here, right? I'm taking notes and I'm gonna relay those things to the people on my team, but none of us have ever done this, and it's my understanding that, you know, this was council's event. This was their creation, and we were willing to all jump on board and help make it happen. But when somebody with Bob's experience, you know, brings up these areas that need to be addressed, and we don't have any experience doing some of those things, and, you know, this is the first time we're hearing about it, it's challenging to say, well, it's got to get done by the 25th because you volunteered to do it.
But when's the first time we've heard about this? We've been talking about this stuff for months. And Bob came to me months ago and said, we need to hire somebody. So I went to Christina months ago and said, hey, you know, Park Rec and Greenway are concerned about this. And I mean, you know, yes, this was something that council wanted to do. Staff execute. Council is, I mean, I'm saying I probably put the most work in for council. So, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'm constantly being like, hey, what about this? What about that? Like, that's gonna get dropped. And so, I understand that, you know, people are out of the office today for extenuating circumstances, but, you know, this is not the first time that we've heard that copy needs to be written, or that newspaper articles need to be written, or that magazine articles need to be written, or that pamphlets need to be written. So if you don't want it done by the 25th, Eric, why don't you suggest a date that you think would be appropriate?
Well, I will say that we will get as much done as we can by then, if not all of that, and bring it to that meeting.
Yeah, how about this? So let's let Derek have them kind of run to get as much ready by the 25th as possible, which is our workshop. We then have our regular board meeting within 2 weeks after that. So I think that 25th will be a good review to see where we're at with what they've been able to get done up to that point on some of these issues, and hopefully some of that will be ready to roll with on the 25th, and then some of the things that they either have more questions or clarifications, or we have more direction to give them that comes out of that meeting the 25th. We then have a natural checkpoint in another week or two after that with our regular meeting. And that's still the beginning of February. Sound good? Okay. Yeah, they nodded.
Oh, okay.
All right. Anything else? Christina, you be quiet. You're opening the can of worms. Oh, I'm just kidding. All right. Moving on to, there is no new business that I'm aware of
Nope.
here. Agenda items, which is review of action items first.
1 second here. Put this in my notes. 28. Okay. Christina will be marking the pocket park, marking off the different areas and proposed trails. Bob will be working with the Eagle Scout on having the sign constructed, but holding off on installation until we receive Drb approval. I will make sure, I'll check with Councilman Lyon to see if he can be at the next meeting on the 25th. We will work on so many things, all the marketing for Marvin Day by the next meeting. I'll get with Gretchen and Jamie on that, and I will put
specifically the banners. I think the banners are an easy thing. Keep it simple. Marvin Day celebrate, Marvin Day, May 21st, 2022, and then the village website on it.
And I will put something about sponsorships in the weekly newsletters.
What do we think? 3 or 4 banners that we can place strategically here near the park,
Publix.
Crane.
high school corner, something like that?
I'd do at least 4 banners.
4?
If we have.
Okay.
More
And that's
than that.
something, you know,
We can
concrete
do
we
that.
can get, so we can start getting the awareness out there. All right, review of ongoing action item list.
1 second here. I actually need to open the file. Do you want me to do this part, Kim? Okay. Since we now have these fancy Marvin Day tracking sheets, I've moved all the Marvin Day stuff to those tracking sheets that Derek has, that we're all updating after every meeting. So now that we're moving forward on the pocket park, are we almost ready to start talking about working with the Marvin Elementary art teachers on art for the pocket park? Or do you still want to have that on hold for a while?
I talked to her and she thinks it's a great idea. So I'll chat with her again now that the holidays are over and see if she's had, because she said, let me put some thought into it, and I'll just, next time I see her at school, I'll ask her about it.
Okay.
Well, and I'm happy to share the plan and walk her around. It doesn't look like much right now because it's winter, but if that would help.
Okay. Austin, can I back up real quick? The tracking sheet, is that something that we can, like, that I can access and it'll update, or do I just need to send Jamie an email and say, update this?
It's not something that you can access. I don't know where it lives. Christina, Derek, and Jamie and Gretchen, they've all been putting this together. But if you see something you need changed, just let one of them know, and we'll update it, and you'll see it at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Christina, check with Girl Scouts about projects for the pocket park. We've currently got that on hold.
Not just Girl Scouts, any scout.
Well,
I don't care the gender.
Okay, well, Scouts of any kind, including Eagle Scouts.
Scouts of any kind. And I would add in there, like I said earlier, that if somebody's wanting to build a bench or a picnic table, we could handle multiples of those at the pocket park. It's a pretty big area that we could put picnic tables at.
Okay.
And benches.
Hunter's not in here. Let's see. I don't know where we stand on this. Christina, Andy, and Dan about the Greenway flooding, fixing the ditch. Have we done anything on that? I can never remember what word it's at.
Dan recently kind of said it seemed what Andy had done was working out pretty well. And
It's really good. And all he did was build that little 6-inch berm or what. It wasn't all he did because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's awesome. And we'll see. I think our test is coming when we get into the wet winter. That'll be when we find out if we are in trouble or not. But I do think longer term, not even longer term, we just need to get DOT to grade the ditch. I actually took some pictures of kind of the exit of our neighborhood to the Marvin Loop Trail. The ditch along that road also needs graded. I mean, like a week after rain or less than that, maybe 3 or 4 days after rain. There's a huge standing pool that's, a huge mosquito trap, and it's the whole, that's probably 200 feet long. So there's a couple spots where DOT just needs to do their job, and it's hard to get them to, but the fix that Andy did is really awesome.
Good luck with DOT.
Well, have you been here since the rain stopped yesterday?
I don't know. I didn't drive the kids to school this morning, so I didn't pass it. I don't know if it's flooded now.
Yeah, because we got 4 or 5 inches, maybe 4, of rain. I would figure that would prove its validity or not.
And it just needs, it needs graded next time they're in the area or something. We still should be on the radar because it's not going to last forever. It's going to be a problem for a long time if we don't actually get water flow right.
Okay, so we'll keep that on here. Let's see, Derek and Dan, the washout at the Cottage garden. You guys worked on that?
No, that's my fault. Derek, I'll send you an email, but is it better to do that later, like after the 25th type meeting, or do you have any problem meeting in the next couple weeks for a couple minutes over there?
I can meet whenever. We'll make it happen.
Okay, I'll send you an email and suggest a time.
And I would add, and maybe this was part of what you guys were thinking, when you go out of the parking lot onto the park road there, it's gotten pretty washed out there too, although it does slow people down, so maybe it's not a bad thing, but just check that out too. I think that's all connected. I'm not sure.
Okay, we're good on roundabouts now. We've got a plan for that. The rest of them are Hunter, so I'll have to get with him on these last few things later. So I think that's
Can
all.
I talk about that 9, the one that says trails? This one I keep bringing it up, but I do think it's really critical, is that Ncdot pedestrian connectivity thing. If they put in that roundabout without putting in crosswalks, that'll be a huge bummer for us because it's really unsafe.
Oh,
I agree with
The
Hunter.
neighbor coming in.
Dan's exactly right.
they're still they pushed it back to December of next year to start, so we keep getting more time.
I know, but like DOT, the way they work, that means they're doing it now. Like today's the day they're probably designing the thing, so or they probably already did. But if we put that in there, we're going to pay a lot of money, and we should pay it because it's a real safety thing, especially in that intersection. People are going to be accessing the trails whether you put something there or not.
Dan, they're still working on designing it because they're trying to figure out if they're going 4 legs or 3 legs.
Okay.
Hopefully it's 4. Hopefully it's 4, Christina, don't take 10. I will, Austin, if you can get with Christina Amos and make sure that DOT knows that we need like crosswalks, accessibility there whenever they do put it in, whichever way they go, hopefully 4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
And then those new plans would be another impetus to, I don't know if it matters to them, but the plans you just saw, that's a decent amount of people that are going to be walking across there, I guarantee it, whether we put those safety measures in place or not.
I don't even think about it. Oh,
I'll tell you what, I'd be scared to walk across it without some crosswalk.
yeah. I'm scared to drive there, much less walk there.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
All right, next item is board member comments. Christina,
Not a thing, thank you.
Dan?
Thanks to everybody, there's a lot going on, I appreciate it all.
Just from me, I know I saw a letter that Derek had sent out, but I think we're gonna kind of be rebuilding it, but I thought all the work, everything everybody did, staff, volunteers for the Christmas, for the holiday tree lighting, I think it went really well and you know, is a good first step back as we're coming out of COVID and kind of rebuilding the interest in that, but just for everybody that helped out and assisted in the planning and the execution, you know, I thought it turned out real well and just wanted to thank everyone for that. All right, other than that, do I hear a motion on the table to adjourn the Village of Marvin Parks Recreation and Greenway meeting here on January 4th at 10:41 a.m.?
Second.
Dan's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.